Hello, and welcome back. This video is about building a simple grappling hook system based on finding a grapple location with a line trace and pulling the character towards it. And a special thanks to all my supporters. Thank you for helping me help others. This is a fresh first-person blueprint project. First off, since we'll want to see where we're shooting, we're just going to add a simple crosshair widget. So for that, we're just going to go into User Interface, Widget Blueprint, choose the user widget, call this WBP Crosshair. And in here, we're just going to add a canvas panel and an image. We're going to make this image 10 by 10 and hold Control and Shift to center it. And that's all we need for that. And then in our first person input actions, we're going to duplicate jump. I'm going to hit Control D. I'm just going to call this IA grapple. And the reason we're using jump is because it has two triggers here for pressed and released. And then we'll add this to the default IMC. And just set it up for the right click. And then in our first person blueprint, we're initially going to just add a begin play event up here. All this is doing is creating the widget. And we'll make the crosshair and then simply just add it to the viewport. I'm going to create three functions. We'll have Grapple Start, Grapple Stop, and Grapple Tick. Grapple Tick will take a float for delta seconds. And down here in our event graph, we'll just zoom out to go down here. We're just adding in the IA grapple. Pop that open. On started, we'll call Grapple Start. On completed, we'll call Grapple Stop. And then down here, we also want our event tick, which we'll just call Grapple Tick, sending along the delta seconds. So in our Grapple Start, we're starting off with a line trace. So we're going to be using a line trace for objects. Line trace for objects, like all the other line traces, takes a start and an end. And then because it's for objects, we also need to send it some object types. So we're starting with a line trace from the point of view of the character. So we're going to use the camera component's location and forward vector. So we can just control drag out the camera component. We'll get its world location and also its forward vector. And the location is the start. That location plus the forward vector multiplied by the distance you want to be able to line trace. So we're just multiplying this by, oh, I did already do that. We're converting this here to a double precision float, and we're setting it to 10,000. And then for our object types, we want to make array. This array is just an array of all the enums for different object types. So you may wonder how we actually determined what object type something is in the world. If we go back into our first person map and we select this block, for example, the way that you find this is if you scroll down to the collision section, you can see collision presets will say default, which is not very helpful at all. If we switch default to custom, It'll keep all the same settings that it was already in there, and it will tell us the object type is world static. If we click on one of these cubes, for example, you can do the same thing. You see that it's a physics actor and physics body type. So if we wanted to collide with both the world static, which is all the geometry, as well as the chamfer cube there, that's a physics body. So with that, we can also add a debug type drawn. We can just throw this on for a duration, pop this open. You can see the default duration is 5. Let's just pop it down to 2. And then make sure that we actually hit something. We'll just drag that out, hold it, and hit B. And when it's hitting something, I'm just going to drag up here for some temporary bit. We're going to just draw a sphere, or draw a debug sphere. Just going to pop this down to, say, 25. The rest is fine. And the location is going to be from the out hit. We want to break this open. And we're using the impact point. And we also want to set a duration on this. We'll set that to 2 as well. And then I also forgot to draw in or drag in the end location. Then when we run, we right click, we can see that it's making the sphere there, and it's putting the draw line as well. And shoot out way over there. So with that done, we can turn off the draw debug. We'll get rid of this sphere. And we want to save this impact point. We're going to promote this to a variable called Grapple Point. We're going to create another Boolean variable. We'll just call this is grapple. Drag that in here and set it to true. And then in our Grapple Tick, we can then first check. Let's drag out here, hit B. And then drag in our isGrapple. So as long as we're grappling, we're then going to take our character movement, Control drag that out, call add impulse. And the impulse is expecting a vector here, and the length of that vector is going to be how strong that impulse is. So we want to figure out a vector from the point, the grapple point, back to the character, effectively. To do that, we could take the grapple point, we could subtract the character's actor location, and that'll give us that value. Then we could normalize it and then multiply it by some value to get the grapple strength. We're going to skip a little bit of that by calling get unit direction. So this is the built-in function. Then we can send the from is actually the actor location. The 2 is the grapple point. And since we have that as a unit vector, which is just a vector with a length of 1, and we can multiply it by some value. We'll set a float here. Just do a promote variable, and we'll call this grapple strength. For this grapple strength, I'm just going to hit compile so that I can set it over here. We're just going to set this to 5,000. And we also want to take the delta seconds into account. So we then multiply the grapple strength as well times delta seconds. And that'll give us our total impulse. There's also a checkbox here for velocity change. You can see when you hover over it, it's whether or not the impulse is relative to the mass. And for this, we're going to check that. We don't care about the mass of the character. If you made changes to that on a character, then it could affect this unless this is checked. So with that done, we'll test it out. If we then right click on something, it now pulls us towards it. But you can see I'm still able to move, and I'm moving very slowly. I didn't actually add the right click part, or the right click release, so we're just stuck there now. So in our grapple stop, we're going to set our grapple to false. So with that done, we then right click on that same thing. It drags us along. You can see it's like super slow, but if I hit jump, it goes a lot faster. So the problem there is that the friction on the ground is causing us to move slower. If I pick a point higher in the air, it's going to pull us up at some point and then, very quickly. So we don't really want it to work like that. So all we need to do is we go back into here. Since I'm already in Grapple Stop, we'll just do the opposite, but we're going to take our character movement and we're just setting our movement mode. In stop, we're just going to set it back to falling. Falling will go right back to walking if you land on the ground, so it's good for us to use. I'll copy this, and in Grapple Start at the end, we're just going to be setting here to flying. So with that done, if we grapple something, even if it's along the ground, it pulls us very quickly, and you can see while I'm holding it, it just always pulls us towards that point. There we go. I'm also going to just change the map a little bit so that it's a bit more fun. I'll take all 4 of these walls. And I'm going to hold Alt and go up vertically. We'll just pop it up there. And now I have a fun little play area. So the crosshair is very handy for this. We can see where we're going. But let's make that a little more obvious for the player. So for that, in our first person player and Grapple Start at the end here, we're going to spawn an actor. This actor is just going to be a cable actor. This is built in Unreal. We don't need to make our own blueprint for it because we're not making any changes to it whatsoever. The location we want it to be spawned is one side of the cable. That will just be our grapple point. So let's grab grapple point over here. And then with this cable actor, we can then call a set attach end2, and you can use an actor or a component. We'll just use the actor. We'll get our reference to self. And we just need to make sure in our grapple stop, we're just getting the grapple actor that I forgot to promote to a variable. So call this just grapple cable. Just control drag that back there, pop that down there, and move this around a little bit. So in grapple stop, we can then just control drag out this, right click, convert it to a validated get. And then as long as it's valid, we're just calling destroy actor on that. So with that done now, we can see the cable when we're doing that, and we can have a lot of fun just flying around the level. If you go too far off the edge, you will hit the kill Z, and you get stuck. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video and would like to see more, you know what to do. And if you would like to support this channel, watch these videos 2 weeks early, or just want to download the project files, you can do so through my Patreon linked below.